Hi everyone, this is Sunette, and in this video for Soul, we're going to be having a Q&A, a question and answer, in relation to some interesting questions individuals have been asking with regards to the process of defining, redefining, and living words. So one of the first questions that's been asked is this process of redefining and living words only, applicable to, the moments where we feel or experience something bad or negative and not good? And, once we do, we simply breathe and let it go and decide to define and live a word in that moment and change ourselves, and that's that. So basically, are you telling me that all I have to do for the rest of my life is whenever I experience and feel something negative and bad and not right, or compromising and consequential in some way or another, just to redefine and live a new word, and voila, you change in that moment? So here, it is an interesting question because, in this process that we've walked thus far with defining, redefining, and living words, we have covered only so many points and dimensions. But for all of you who's been walking this with us, to be patient. There is quite a process still to come. But in the meantime, we can, give you an overview of what is ahead. So from having a look at that point in terms of, the moments where you experience the emotions, like frustration or irritation and annoyance and anger, depression, sadness, that in that moment of experiencing it, first thing you've got to realize is that that experience, that emotion, is still being created from a reactional response to a stimulus, either internally or externally. So in your, let's call it natural programming, self-programming, which is to mean who I am in relation to, what happens to me in my own mind, with someone I'm communicating with or interacting with, that in that natural pre-programming or programming, your tendency is still to react, have thoughts or inner dialogues, projections, ideas that accordingly, trigger and activate emotional responses, negative responses. So if you, for example, are at a stage or phase within this process where you are redefining and living a word only after, you have had a thought or an inner dialogue and emotional experience, then the redefining and living word process is still something that you are making a part of you, that you are becoming comfortable with. It's not yet natural. In other words, when you get to a stage or phase where you are genuinely living a word, where a word has become a part of you, your natural program, your natural response to a moment or a person or something that comes up within you will be that living word. What will not come up anymore, that will not trigger or activate, is that thought or inner dialogue and emotional response that you had in the past. All right. So therefore, what we would suggest for this video is for everyone to play and have a bit of fun with getting to know just how to start practicing, even starting that change in a moment, where, and this bringing into the next Q&A, which kind of fits into our first one that we have just walked through, is where, individuals have asked in relation to redefining and living words, how many words do I start with initially within this process? Do I, for example, pick one word and try and practice that one word that I have purified and defined, redefined, and now getting into living in everyday life moments? And for some, it hasn't worked so well, using one word, because for them, their everyday lives are chaotic, hectic, all over the place, running here, there, towards them and they, and they're like, almost like a headless chicken in a way, day in and day out. So for them to focus on one word only is actually compromising them a bit more, because they actually need more support than one word. If anything, they themselves have found that they can handle more words than one because of them being so busy internally and also physically. And in their interaction and participation with people in their everyday lives, they need more foundational structural support to carry them through each day. So some then decided, okay, based on my daily routine, I know I am, in the mornings, afternoons, and evenings, in like a couple of minutes busy with, that meeting or these people or, that family member or this friend. So what they did is map out their daily routines, or times within their day that routines exist, and would start picking a new word that they could redefine and live and practice it in that time frame during each and every single day. And on weekends, completely different self and time again, so a whole new process opening up for them. And then on weekends, they would choose completely different words. And then over a 3-week period, they would practice the same words during the week and different words during the weekend for a month. And then the next month start a whole set of new words. So essentially, this process of redefining and living words, you can test out, play with, experiment, be creative and innovative in getting to know what works for you. There are others then who don't so much as of yet focus on placing their attention too much on practicing, redefining and living words in their everyday life or everyday life moments. They're purely only at the stage or phase, which I'm introducing in this video, of simply getting to know that, I can actually change myself in those real-time moments. Meaning, I can let go of the thought and the inner dialogue and the reaction, the emotional experience. Take a breath, slow down, and then in the moment, become creative in deciding what word I would like to live or experience and sense and feel. So here you are going to need a rich vocabulary, because moments are unpredictable, in our everyday lives, and they are many. This is also one of the interesting things about this process is the more aware you become of something within yourself or about yourself, like thoughts or your inner dialogue and experiences. And especially when it comes to a process of change and you get a new technique or new tool or new method and way, it's almost like, everything in your mind and in your process and everyday life gets emphasized and highlighted and stands out. It's like there's this unseen part of you inside yourself in your everyday life that suddenly just put the spotlight on everything. And, everything just seems so overwhelming. But here also, where so many individuals were saying with this process that it just feels like sometimes, their thoughts and emotional experiences are more overwhelming than before. Now that they are actually, ready for change and they're going to redefine and live words, why now all of a sudden does it seem to be more difficult to decide to change and actually change? You know what, I've also looked at this in my personal process, and it is sometimes that we put ourselves almost like on a stage, where we stand on a stage in front of many people, or just picture or imagine, any situation that you're confronted with that tends to make you nervous. It's like everything gets highlighted and spotlighted and emphasized inside yourself. And it's like everything becomes 10 times difficult. It's simply, in a way, because on some level we put some kind of stress and pressure and tension on ourselves. So have a look out for that dimension also. That this process of redefining and living words is really a gentle transition into actual, real, everyday life moments of change, all right? And to remember that, as I said in the beginning of this video, this is going to be a process. Where we are at now, within this process of redefining and living words, is simply letting you get to know, get a feel for, get a sense for what it is about our relationship with words that actually give us the opportunity to become them, to live them, and to understand what that means. Because that is something we have never done before. That is something us as human civilization has never actually ventured into. What does it mean to define, redefine, and live words on a being level, on an awareness level, where we look at ourselves beyond our minds, deeper into a state and an experience that is more open, more, let's call it explorative in discovering different ways of experiencing ourselves and being and living in everyday life moments. All right. So with this being a whole new process, a whole new experience, another interesting thing that we tend to do, which is our last point we will have a look at in this video, the last Q&A. So many individuals were like saying, yes, this process is a bit too simple. It's a bit too easy, Can it be that? And in many ways, it is simple. And it is easy, but in many other ways, it is actually not. One thing we tend to do is we think change happens like that. And especially when something new or something different comes along, we tend to very easily and quickly conceptualize it in our minds. Like let's say, for example, there are so many individuals who are walking the process of redefining and living words, but they're doing it as a response to, a reaction that had come up within them, that they had already had. So, in other words, that's indicating that you're not yet that word that you have maybe afterwards become in a way of sensing it and experiencing it and feeling it, but you're not yet living it. Living would mean that word in its living embodied state as yourself comes up first and foremost, not the thoughts or experiences or reactions within yourself, right? So we will be in videos to come introducing the process of how do you then transition, from redefining and living words being based on a response or, and let's call it an after effect of you going into your thoughts or your inner dialogue or your emotional experiences. How, when does that transition happen where the word actually becomes me? When? How? How will I know? All those questions and answers we'll have a look at in videos to come. But for this video, to take with you, everyone, is to continue this journey and process with us in soul. Change takes time, and that is with real change as well. And this you can have a look at for anyone who has excelled, who has made a success of themselves, who had overcome things within themselves and their life, who had made a change in a way that lasted on a mental or physical level. There's one thing you'll always find in common with them, and that is a process that they walked and the time that it took and the ups and downs they went through, the struggles, the strives, the fallings, the standing up, that they've taken with them, that has become the building blocks of their change that stands, and that stands the test of time. And you can see those people are so constant in who they are and how they are, and they just kept on growing and evolving and expanding. All right, so always keep this at the back of your mind, whenever there's a part of you that wants to rush into this and get it over with and get it done. And, we've only started this process, and there's already many individuals who are saying, but I don't get it. And I feel like I don't understand this so well. Am I not getting something? Is it maybe too simple, too basic? All the while, we are really at the stage of only getting onto the bike, and getting to know the bike, and maybe taking a few steps with our support, and like the parent holding the child, in the back of the bike while the child is busy pedaling with the support and assistance. So we're all still very much students in this process. So bear with us, be patient, it'll be worth it. Take it video by video, day by day in your everyday lives, and we'll see you in videos to come. And enjoy yourselves. All right. Thank you very much.